Okay. And in the studio with me, we have Stephanie Clote. And let's say good morning to this awesomely powerful woman. Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning, my dear, and good morning to the listeners, and thank you very much for inviting me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here this morning.
Well, Stephanie, we are absolutely proud to have you with us in the studio. And I think the message that you are going to be sending out to people, it's going to be one that most people would like to hear. But more importantly, I think most people would like to feel, especially those who have lost a loved one. And more importantly, a child. And I hope I never find out what that experience is going to be like or what it is like. But you are one brave mom to come in this morning and talk to us about a child that you lost. And then, of course, that grieving process. And also the fact that moms or parents maybe tend to concentrate more on children who have passed on than the children that are here as well. Stephanie, we're going to get right into it and ask you about this beautiful boy that you had and who's no more.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, it's actually very interesting that I can sit today and sit and talk about it. Not so long ago, it was very difficult even mentioning his name. Because for a while, I didn't want to accept reality that, to me, he was still there. And I think that is what a lot of our mothers, and bear with me, but not just mothers, we mustn't forget that fathers also grieve. And sisters and brothers also grieve. But mostly mothers, and I think because we actually gave birth to them. That is why it hits us so hard. Yes, it's something that, you just said now that I hope it's something I never experienced. It's something I said when I heard of youngsters dying. I said the very same thing before I actually experienced that on the 8th of September 2016. I always used to say, you know what, I don't know what I will do if something like that happens to me. I hope I never experience that. But yet it happened to me. So the message, what I have learned also, and the message I also want to bring across today is that unfortunately, we all have to cross that road. We all have to cross that road sometime or the other. It's just that we never know when, and we never prepare for it, because no one ever prepares for.
Well, Stephanie, let's start off from the time your baby, was born, and that bond that you had with him throughout the years that he spent with you.
Well, if I have to take you back, it's actually very interesting, because I'm a very staunch Christian, and I'm a very faithful Christian, and I believe, and that is what also gave me the strength today, as my positivity in life.
And yeah, don't forget, for all those of you, you can catch us right now live on Facebook as well. That's Facebook at lotus.fm as Stephanie tells us a story.
I'm going to, I'm actually going to start off when I was still pregnant, because to me it's a very interesting story. When I was still pregnant, the father of my child actually invited me to go with him to Swaziland on a business trip. And I was, at the time, I was 7 months pregnant. And on our return, that was in June sometime, 1987. And on our return from Swaziland, it was around about 7 in the evening. We actually met up with, we were driving in a City Golf. We actually met up with an accident where a huge truck actually made a U-turn, and it was a bit dark for us to see, and the driver couldn't see properly. And we actually lost control of the vehicle. And the car actually rolled 5 times, with me at the back seat.
Very pregnant.
Highly pregnant, 7 months pregnant. My child's father was thrown out of the car. The driver was thrown out of the car. I was the only one left in the car, rolling with the car 5 times, highly pregnant. And on the 5th roll, the car threw me out, but by then the car was a sandwich. So my leg got stuck in the car whilst rolling. The reason, I'm going to tell you now why this is relevant to me, is because when they eventually rushed me to hospital, my child's father actually also forgot at the time that I was pregnant, and only later on said, "Oh my God, she's pregnant." And at that time, the doctors were now concentrating on me being pregnant. And believe me, I actually broke my leg. I hurt my back. I was badly injured. I was unconscious for a while. And the doctors, believe me, they accepted the fate. They accepted that my child did not survive. When they put the machines on, what do you hear? The heartbeat of this little boy. They couldn't believe it, that this child actually survived, you know. And to end the story, I had to actually convince these doctors that after I was discharged, they actually said to me, please, I was actually staying in Maritzburg at the time. I gave birth in North Hospital. The Durban Hospital, actually, the doctors actually asked me, please do me a favor. When you go into labor, please let us know, because this is a miracle baby. And they actually called him a miracle baby. And when I gave birth on the 25th of August, 1987, this child, the most beautiful boy I've ever seen, was born without no complications, nothing. So the reason behind the story that I actually want to share is that I was supposed to lose my son already before he was born. But it was not in God's plan. God's plan was for me to bear this child. And mothers out there that has lost children, or even those that hasn't, we are so privileged. We are the chosen ones to actually bear children, you know. And I think that is also a story that I also want to bring out to our grieving mothers, is that I know it's a very sad thing to say, but during my time of bereavement, you know, I think about all these things. I think about the negativity. I think about the positivity. And I can't really think of anything negative except positive. You know, mothers that lost children, let us be grateful and thankful to our Lord and Savior that He actually gave us the privilege of spending time with our beautiful babies, whether it's a year, whether it's even a month. In my case, it was 29 most beautiful years.
You know, Stephanie, as I listen to you, you're sounding so brave, but you were not like that, right? You went through that process of grieving. So, and you had this beautiful gift that was supposed to be taken, from you even before, like you say, he was born. But you had that gift for 29 years. And eventually, when that moment came, when you had to say goodbye to him, what had happened? What brought that on?
You know, I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would ever say goodbye to my son. I always thought that he would say goodbye to me, just like any parent would. I had my plans in action for when they bury me. Truthfully, I never had plans in action to bury my children. I'm sitting here today and I can honestly say I didn't even have a funeral burial for my children. Who takes out a funeral burial for your child? I mean, so it's something that not in my wildest dreams I ever thought it could be possible. And you know, when I lost him, but before I lost him, you know, he had so much of dreams. He had so much of hopes. And I actually have 2 letters, by the way, that he wrote not long before he actually passed on, because he used to be a poet. He used to write letters. And I had the privilege of, and in one of the letters I actually read after his passing, during my grieving period. Believe me, I'm sitting here today, like you say, I can't believe it. I'm actually sitting here talking to you about it. And because I refused to accept that my child was gone. I refused to actually concentrate on my other children. My focus point was on my son that I lost, you know. And it was, my whole world was falling apart. There was no one else left in my world.
Was it sudden?
Oh yes, it was very sudden. It was very sudden, and I think that was for me the most painful thing, because it was sudden. You know, on the night, I'm not going to speak about how the whole story, but the night before he passed on, I actually had the privilege. I went to a meeting that night, and somehow God worked it in such a way that I had, because I didn't see him the whole day because he was busy, he was studying, you know. He was actually an engineer, by the way. He was an electrical engineer. And he was promoted by his work. He worked for Eskom. He was promoted by his work, so he was busy with this training. And I haven't actually seen him that whole day, and I was going to a meeting that evening, but somehow something happened that I had to phone him just to assist me before he could go, before I could leave for this meeting, not knowing that that was my goodbye. And he came instantly. That's the type of person he was, you know. No matter what he was doing, if I called him, yes, ma, I'm coming straight away. He will leave whatever he was busy with. And he came straight away. And it was so fortunate, because I did not go with my own vehicle to this meeting. Normally, I normally just go with my own vehicle. But that night, my friend decided, no, we don't need to go 2 cars. I'll pick you up. And somehow she was delayed in picking me up. And that gave me the opportunity to actually not unknowingly say goodbye to my son. And we actually made a joke. I actually made a joke with him, and he laughed. He had the most beautiful smile that you could ever see.
Can I ask what happened?
Yes, you can ask what happened. It's a very sad story. It's something that I never dreamed would happen to anybody, leave alone my son. But what happened was, my son was actually at this guest house. Okay, the truth of the matter is, it was my own guest house.
Okay.
It was my own. By the way, I'm an owner of 2 lodges. I'm a businesswoman. And it was one of my lodges, and I, whenever he used to come down for training and stuff, he used to actually come and stay at this lodge. Because of his age, 29 years old, he wanted to be a bit more private, and I preferred that he stayed there also. So he stayed at this at the lodge, and that night, I was still at the meeting at the time. Then apparently some guys came in past 9 in the evening, with under the false pretense that they're coming to book in. And the lady, but the gates was remote controlled. So the lady, my manager, she actually opened the gate for them. And when she opened the gate, they came in, and they forcefully required her that they actually come in to rob the place. They actually want the televisions and whatever there was. And I can't speak too much about it, because the case is actually still pending.
No, that's fine. We don't need the details, and I'm sorry that I'm asking you this as well. Just very quickly, what had happened, what caused his death, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You don't need to give me the entire story.
Yeah. No. And then what happened was, she apparently screamed. She apparently screamed, and that the character that my son had was a heroic character. He was a hero to everybody, being it a TV that they must repair, or being it just somebody that they have to pick up something, groceries or what. He used to do that. So what happened was, when he heard the scream, he ran out of his room. And when he got out, he saw this 4 men, apparently. But then when they saw him, they pulled a gun on him, and they shot him 4 times, brutally. They shot him brutally 4 times so that he doesn't recognize them, you know. And after he was shot, they left him, and they ran away. As I'm concerned, my version was that he died in my arms, because I could feel his last breath leaving me. I could see his eyes staring at me, and actually without words telling me, "Mom, don't worry, I'm okay, I'll be okay."
Stephanie, you are one brave woman to share that story with us, and I know that you'll reach that. It's going to stay with you. It's an awesome message. We are now going to, unfortunately, have to say goodbye to you on the show. But what we would like to do is talk to more grieving moms, more grieving parents, more grieving people, to come in and share their experience, and maybe in our own way on Life and Style, come up with our own support group as well. Stephanie, very quickly, last few words from you.
Okay, the last few words that I would like to say is that, I have to mention this, and this is because of, I have to thank a very dear friend of mine, Hendrani Govender. I have to thank her, because we have actually founded a Dynamic Women International. And it's because of Dynamic Women International that we have actually founded this group called Madaduzeka, and that is Grieving Mothers, where we actually going out now to help a lot of mothers that are going through the same thing as me. Because in this time that I'm with Dynamic Women International, I have actually came across so many women that have experienced what I have experienced, but cannot deal with it. So that is what Dynamic Women International is there for also. We are a group of women looking out for women that is in the same position as what I am.
Well, Stephanie, I'd like to say once again a heartful thanks to you and the Dynamic Women International as well, for going out there and making it happen for lots of people who need that support, who need the help. For those of you who may have missed out on the talk, who may have come in